Hello, gorgeous souls. How are we today? So, podcast episode 5. Today we are delving into three ways that you can calm your nervous system when stress takes over. And the reason that I'm doing this podcast episode on this topic today is because my nervous system is shaky at the moment. So I thought, what better way than to actually just talk about the things that I do when this happens. So if and when you are jumping on this live with me on Facebook, please do say hello. Drop me your favourite emoji in the comments. If and when you're catching the replay of this on the podcast platform, if you're not subscribed to that, the link's in my bio. Then let me know, reach out to me. If you've got any comments, any questions, when you're listening to the podcast, you can reach out to me, whether it's on the platform by dropping a comment, or you can email me at hello@louiseblood.co.uk. And maybe you're watching me on the YouTube, in which case, hello, if you're watching the replay on YouTube. Again, drop anything that you've got to share in the comments, and I will check them out as well. So why is my nervous system a bit all over the place? So just to explain, if you are listening to the podcast, this week's episode sees me with my gym kit on and a baseball hat and no makeup. That's the vibe today. There was a part of me was like, I could really do with not doing the podcast this week. However, I'm committed to doing the podcast every single week. So here we are. And the reason for it, of me being like, I could really do with not doing the podcast this week because I'm feeling a little stressed, is because we move house on Thursday. And it's both exciting, a little bit hectic, a little bit stressful, but mainly also for me, and this is what I wanted to mainly talk about on today's podcast, is it's bringing up things in my nervous system related to experiences that I've had in the past, of like not so great experiences, and from, you know, past relationships, difficult times in my life. It's come up to the surface this week. And I know a lot of people say, like, in this industry, that you shouldn't, and I hate that word, you shouldn't really talk about something that you're going through. What you should do is, you know, go through something, and then once you're on the other side of whatever it is that's going on for you, then you can talk about it because you're through it. And for some things, I do feel that it is a good thing. If you are very high up in your emotions, if it feels like too much to communicate it at that time, then, you know, sometimes it is good to give yourself that space, that grace, and then come back to sort of on reflection to share. But in some circumstances, I do really believe that when we are in process, when we are going through something, as in if you are a coach, if you are a healer, if you are a leader, if you are in this type of industry, and ultimately, like with this podcast, it is here to help and serve people. I feel that I would be doing a disservice if I didn't actually go live in real time or talk about things while I'm in them sometimes, because I know that it's like I know how it feels because I'm feeling it right now. And sharing and talking about it like right now while I'm in process means that A, it's not going to be perfect, which is perfect. B, it's going to be real. And C, it means that I really understand how it feels. And this isn't me on the other side of the hill going, oh, well, when you've done all the work and when you do this is how it's going to be. It's like, no. I am stood here now in this, feeling this right now. Hello, Missy. Have you recently relocated, Missy? Let me know. I feel like you've recently done a big move. And if that's the case, then I'm excited for you. I hope it's all going well. Nice to catch you on the live with me today as well. Thank you for being here. So yes, while I'm in this now, I feel it's really powerful to share while we're in something sometimes, because it means that if and when you are listening to this and you are going through stress, you are feeling a little bit overwhelmed, you are feeling like your nervous system is shaky at the moment, it means that, you know, the action that we are taking now is going to really help. Not from a place of, you know, I'm all sorted and things are great. It's, I'm in this now and this is exactly what I'm doing now and this is what is helping me right now. So if you are in that place, if you're watching the replay on Facebook, like I said, if you're watching the replay on YouTube, if you're on the podcast and this is you, then this episode is specifically for you. 3 ways to calm your nervous system when stress takes over. And I've written it down in my notebook because when my brain is in this state, like when my nervous system is a little bit stressed, when I feel a little bit shaky, I can feel irritable, I'm going to share the things that I want to do and why I want to do them that don't serve me. And then I want to share actually the steps that really do help me to continue to move forward and to lead from a grounded, empowered place when I'm feeling all the feels. Missy says, goodness, I wish. Oh, well, who is it then? From the bed to the sofa, does that count? Yeah, it does. What makes you say this? Someone on my social media recently, and I was sure it was you, has relocated, and they've got a very similar profile picture to you. And that is why I think they've moved to Brazil or somewhere. So I was like, is that you? Gone to Brazil? Who is it then? I need to figure out who it is. If you are in Brazil, then amazing. But like, I don't know. Wait, are you in the UK? Are you in the UK? I'm guessing you're in the UK. But yeah, from the bed to the sofa, amazing. Missy says, what a lovely topic. Thank you for covering those. We are living in testing times. Yes. And so with everything that's happening as well in the world, on the news, just everywhere, I've seen on social media just people's comments and the way that many women are sharing how they don't really know how to feel right now. They don't know how to lead with the stress. They feel like if they're not feeling something, then it means that they're not compassionate or they haven't got empathy for others, and they feel guilty for continuing to focus on themselves or lead or move, or they're struggling to do that with the heaviness of things that are happening all around us. And for me, obviously, there's everything that's happening, which causes, as an empath, we feel that from other people. We feel the stress, we feel the anxiety, we feel the heaviness of other people. I know I do, and the world, which is why I can be very selective with the things that I watch on TV, with programs that I watch very limited TV. I'm like mindful of what I consume, just because of how it can impact my energy. And then also with all of that, there's also sort of personal stresses that we have. And for those of you, when it comes to, having things that you want to create and achieve, and even attract in your life, and also in your business as well, if you've got a business, there will be certain actions that align with what it is that you want. And when you're in stress, when you are, like, you can feel that your nervous system is shaky, you don't feel fully grounded or safe. Hello, Elizabeth. Welcome to today's session. It can have an impact on that action. And if you are someone who finds that you can self-sabotage things, or you can find yourself being irrational, you find yourself procrastinating and feeling very stuck, I want you to know that there's a reason for that. And this is what this podcast is going to delve into today, is helping you to realise that there's actually nothing wrong with you if you feel like stuck, if you feel like you can't move forward. If you can hear Luna barking, then that's Luna, our dog. And so when you feel stuck, and when you feel like you can't take the action, if you're struggling to do sort of even the basics, sometimes just for some people, it's like even just getting out of bed is really hard. Getting in the shower, cleaning the house, doing those things that, other people, when they're aligned, when they're okay, when they're in good spirits, they can just get on with that. When you are compromised emotionally and with the nervous system, sometimes the very basic things can feel really challenging. And they feel like, and then you start to make that mean something about yourself. Like your thoughts will come in, like limiting thoughts about like, why can't I just do the basic things? And what is wrong with me? And that can compound on the stress that you are already feeling. And it can compound on, your nervous system that's already feeling shaky. It's like putting even more pressure on yourself to either perform or to do more when you can't even do the basics. So if that is you right now, I know exactly how it feels. It doesn't feel good. What I am going to do is I am going to plug in I have a little fluffy thing to put on my microphone. Because the dog is now outside having a bark party, I'm going to just, you can probably hear that proper ASMR vibes. Let me see if I can clip this little bit of fluff on here. And then hopefully you won't hear her. And now I've got a phone call, it's all happening today. So let's clip that on there. Now hopefully background noise will be omitted. I've got my nice little bit of fluff on there, vibes. So yeah. Now, when I feel stressed, and this is how it's manifesting for me this week, and then I'm going to share the 3 things that really do help me to lead with this. And it's not trying to push it away. It's not trying to change it. It's not trying to ignore it. It is being with it. Like fully facing what's actually happening, rather than trying to shut off from it, distract from it, or just not deal with it, like try and ignore it. Now, when I'm stressed, and I have written this down, like I said, because my brain can get very forgetful when I'm like this. When I'm stressed, I find that I want to withdraw. And if you relate to anything that I'm saying, please do let me know. I want to withdraw. I want to go quiet. I can get defensive. I want to basically just hide away. I want to just be on my own. And the reason for that is my nervous system wants me to retreat back, and it wants to it goes into sort of a freeze or a fawn sort of situation where it feels safe to isolate. I'm a bit like a hedgehog. I want to roll into a ball, and I want to protect myself from everything and everyone around me. Even though there's not an immediate threat in the physical right in front of me, it's my inner turmoil that's causing me to want to do that. And that is like either pressure or stress or emotions or feelings that are coming up that feel difficult to process. And it means that I don't want to like communicate with people. I try and avoid conversations. For example, in business, how it used to affect me in business is I'd have this podcast scheduled and I'd think, I can't do it. How can I go on and deliver a podcast or go live on Facebook or do this when I'm feeling like this? Because I'm meant to be, helping people with this when I am in it. So how can I do that? I don't want to do that. And, what are people going to say? Blah, blah, blah. There would be all of that. And, if we've got this thing where we've got to be perfect and polished, we'd also think, or I would think, well, I can't show up like that because I need to be in a good mindset. I need to be positive, blah, blah, blah. And that's a load of crap. I can show up exactly as I am. And this is the same for you. I can show up exactly as I am. The only person who needs to be okay with it is me. Because it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. Other people's opinions don't matter. And when we lead from a place where we don't seek validation of, that was amazing, or that was terrible, it's like, I'm in my lane, and this is what I'm doing. I've found in life and in business that this attitude serves me so, so well. Is I'm not here for people's applause. I'm not here for all of that criticism. I'm open to hearing feedback. But in terms of the most important thing is, am I okay with me? And if you're not okay with you, then this is the work that we have to do, is you being okay with you when you're stressed. Some people respond differently to, when their nervous system is going into a stress state. Is they can find that they go into fight. So you may find that you want to argue with people, you feel really irritable, you feel very explosive, you want to, everyone's wrong, you want to argue with people to make your point across. It's like because you are trying to protect yourself. I don't tend to go into that vibe. I know some people do because we all respond differently. It can feel like you are fighting against the world. If I'm fidgeting around, because we move house in a few days, I've got nothing to sit on and my feet are going numb, and that's just where we're at. Yes, you can fight, you can want to argue, you can want to push through. Like you'll want to push harder, hustle harder, like really push through it. I wouldn't advise that you push through it. But I'd advise some of the work that I'm going to share, obviously, during this podcast. You may find that you become even more of a people pleaser. You become very apologetic. You feel like you've just done something wrong, so it's all your fault, and you're blaming yourself, and you feel guilty, you feel shame. You can go into that vibe. or you can go into freeze. And I tend to go into freeze and a little bit of fawn. So freezing for me, like I said, is withdrawing, going quiet, not wanting to speak, not wanting to talk, feeling irritable, feeling like I just want like everything to just be me, because if it's me, I've got control, I'm safe. All of that happens, and this is all internal. From the external, people maybe wouldn't know about it. And this is why I wanted to have this conversation today, is because obviously the work that I do as a coach and mentor for women is it's this conversation that we have. It's the behind the mask that you wear on the front, like behind who you are on social media, behind who you are as a business leader or owner, behind who you are as the partner or the friend or the daughter or the mother or whatever responsibilities that you have. It's you behind all of that, and it's how you think and feel and how you lead yourself. That's who I'm talking to today. Because when you are in alignment, when you are in a good place, when you know how to lead yourself, especially through times of stress, through times of grieving, through times of difficulty, through times of challenge, this is what makes the difference. And for me, it's been just the most amazing work that I've done for myself, and then also for my clients as well. So I'd love for you to identify, do you go into fight? Do you go into flight? Do you go into freeze? Do you go into a bit of all three? Like, how do you find yourself responding? And then I want you to notice, and you can write these things down, if you've got pen and paper, you can write these things down, because sometimes when we're going around just responding to life and we don't take ownership or responsibility for our own thoughts, our own feelings, our own actions, we can go around blaming everyone else for why we're thinking and feeling and doing the things that we're doing. It can become everyone else's fault. And this is when we can find ourselves, and I've been there myself, where we can find ourselves slipping into victim mode. Like, it's not fair, that person said this, that person's done that to me, whether that makes you then angry, whether it then makes you upset, whether you then blame those people. My work is all about taking full responsibility. I'm not saying that other people aren't in the wrong at times, because other people are, because people aren't perfect. And that's fine. And we can deal with that. However, it's how are you leading you? Because the only person who gets to decide that is you. And it's like, you're not always going to bring your best self to the table. And when it's not bringing your best self, and when I say best self, this isn't being absolutely perfect. This isn't being, everything feels great and amazing. This is like where you are right now. Even if you are feeling all the feels, or even if you are in a state of nervous system or stress, like nervous system's going, AWOL, you're feeling stressed. It's you in that. The best version of you where you are at today. Because it can change all the time. One day life's amazing, the next day something's happened and it causes us to experience that stress or that pressure. So it's, who are you when no one's watching? And what actions are you taking when you find yourself compromised and when you find yourself stressed? So like I say, I want to shut down. And I've written these things down, so if I keep looking down, that's why. I want to shut down. I don't want to talk to anyone about it. I can feel overwhelmed. I can feel very irritable. And I find that I can have a lot of racing thoughts about things. So a lot of things can come into my mind. A lot of past situations or experiences that I've had can come to front of mind when I'm in that state. And I can think, what is actually happening right now? It can feel very confusing. And the reason I share this is because this is all normal. This is all normal. This is what stress can do to us as humans. And like I've said in a previous podcast, my brain is a neurotypical brain. I have a neurodivergent brain. So the way that my brain processes information can be quite hectic sometimes in my mind. I sometimes go to myself, blimey, when the thoughts are giving it all out, I'm like, most people wouldn't handle this quite as well maybe as I'm doing. That's what I'll think to myself, because I'm like, it's literally a rave going on in there right now. It is like, it is full, it's going on. It can then cause me, when that's happening, it can then cause me to forget things even more. It can cause me to feel like all over the place and scattered. That then impacts like my day, it impacts my action. Then that impacts how I think about me, I feel about me, and I know all this about me. I want you to notice if you experience any of this, because I know it's not only me. I know it's not only me. And what I used to find is when I didn't know how to handle this, and I thought there was something wrong with me, it would cause me to personally, for my personal goals, and also my professional goals, so in my business, it would cause me to procrastinate, and it would cause me to like just self-sabotage myself. And then I would compound that with more thoughts and feelings that I was just, not good enough, or I was a failure, or I was just not organised, or I was irresponsible. Like all of these things would compound like what was happening, so I could prove myself right, because it felt better to prove myself right, because I didn't know how to handle all of this stress that had come up and the overwhelming feelings and my actions that aligned with that stress. And so the difference now, and a few other bits actually before I go on, a few other bits would be not looking after self. So not looking after myself, that would be another thing. And then another one would be dropping commitments that I'd made. So like just doing basic things at home, not wanting to go in the shower, not wanting to get dressed, like I said, not wanting to communicate with people. I wouldn't want to go live, like I wouldn't want to do a podcast like this. So I'd drop the commitments that were important to me, and then they would go by the wayside. And I think, when I'm feeling better, I'll pick those things back up. Or I'd just shame myself out of doing them, because it was like, well, who was I kidding? I've tried this many times before, and then this comes up, and then I feel like shit. And so I will stop doing all of those things because I'm not good enough. And then I would go round in these cycles of like sabotage all the time because of it, and make it mean something about me. So do you find, or do you relate to anything that I'm saying today? Because in the last sort of week, let's say, I've experienced all of these feelings. Yesterday was a biggie. Like yesterday was a really like ball of all this, like of wanting to withdraw, wanting to go quiet, feeling defensive, wanting to retreat back, hide, not wanting to show up. That was, I felt all of that yesterday. I had racing thoughts yesterday. This was all happening literally just yesterday. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that now, because I know the steps to take that serve me, that mean that I'm not in that now. It's not a permanent thing. And this is why for this podcast I wanted to share this, is because when your nervous system is in a state of like overwhelm or anxiousness or stress or pressure, and you're really feeling that, and you can feel it internally, it's because you ultimately deep down don't feel safe. Like you don't feel safe in some way. The stress is causing you to relive a past experience or connect to something that's happened, and to like bring evidence to the surface of, oh my gosh, what if this happens? Oh my gosh, what about this? All of that would happen. And so you don't feel safe. And so at this point, my feet are going numb. I need to sit right down on my bum. That's better. At this point, let me just adjust my tripod just a little bit. There we go. If you know that about yourself, and if you know that you are, feeling the feels and nervous systems like in turmoil, and you know it's because you don't feel safe, then it means the most important thing you can do for yourself when you're feeling this way is have grace and compassion for self. And this is where I used to get it wrong. Because rather than having grace and compassion for myself in these moments, I would get harder on myself. I would be like, negative self-talk, very much like this masculine edge coaching of, just push through, what's wrong with you? Come on, like, you don't need to be like that, push through the thing. And And what my nervous system really needed was softness. My nervous system and like my body, what I needed was reassurance. It needed safety. It needed to be held. It needed to have space. It needed to have kindness. It needed to have compassion. It didn't need Sergeant Major, come on, get on with it, push through, what's wrong with you, get up, go again. And that just caused it to go into even more like a trauma response. And so if your nervous system's all over the place, have grace and compassion. This is where real self-love comes in. And by self-love, what I don't mean is that you put down everything that's happening around you and you don't look after self and you just stop and you are still. It means that you just take a moment and you ask yourself, and this is the question to ask yourself, what is the fear that is coming up here? Like, what am I actually scared of? If I don't feel safe, it's because I'm in fear of something. I'm in fear of something happening. I'm in fear of something repeating itself. I'm in fear of just something happening. Identify what your fear or fears actually are. And sometimes they might not make any sense in the moment right now. You might think, well, why am I feeling that fear? Why do I feel scared about that? And the thing is with emotions and the emotional body, the nervous system, when you've experienced things in your life that have had an intense emotional experience for you, you know, different levels of trauma in your life, your body and your nervous system holds on to that in the moment, because in the moment it can't fully go through the process it needs to go through most of the time. And what we can find as adults is when we're under a state of stress or something is happening in life and the body makes a connection to when that has happened before, we can relive the thoughts, the feelings, the experience, all of the things in the moment now, even though what's happening right now isn't the thing that happened, but the body wants to complete the process of what was happening then. And this is why doing the work now makes such a difference. Because if you don't do this work now that I'm going to talk to you about on this podcast, then you will find that you will go round in circles and cycles, and these feelings, this pressure, this stress, the nervous system response will keep happening for you because you don't allow your body to complete the process that it wants to complete, because we feel scared by it, because we feel like we can't handle it, because it's inconvenient, because we would rather do anything but deal with the feelings that are right in front of us right now. We'd rather argue and prove our point and be right than actually communicate deeply and, you know, allow the vulnerable feelings to come right to the surface, those fears right to the surface, where it's like we're open. That feels too scary, so we shut down. We fight it, we run away from it, or we freeze. And we do this subconsciously. We react subconsciously because we've learned to react in a certain way to keep us safe. And if you want to move forward in life, if you want to lead yourself and create more, achieve more, you want to manifest more, the work is expanding your nervous system's ability to be able to create safety in new situations, in new scenarios, as you are moving towards the things that you want to create, achieve, and attract. This is the work, and this is the unsexy work that no one wants to do. This is the work that I love to do. This is the work of my life inside of both my containers, self-led, which is my monthly membership, and also immersion, which is my group coaching experience, and with my one-to-one clients. Like, this is the work. Having conversations of the nature of this, because it's all amazing when things are in alignment, when the vibes are amazing, and I live for that as well. I love a vibe. As you all know, I am like, all the vibes, all the things, let's manifest, miracles happen, yay, make it rain, all the things. And there are also days, weeks like this, where we can't ignore this work. unless we want to stay where we are. So the baseline is you don't feel safe, and that's okay. If you don't feel safe and there are things in your immediate situation and you are responding to things immediately in the situation that aren't safe, then that needs addressing straight away. However, if you are in an environment where you are physically safe, so if you feel all the feels and around you, everything seems okay around you, everything looks okay around you, you are safe right now, then, but in here, internally, in your mind, in your body, you don't feel safe, then this is what we're going to do. So like I said, identifying the fear or the fears that you have. Like, what actually are they? Write them down, share them with someone, get clear on what they actually are. Once you know what your fears are, I want you to then go and ask yourself what the worst case scenario is if those fears were to actualize. So if that was to actually happen, the fear that you have, how would you handle it? What would you do? And a lot of the time, you come up with a solution and go, well, I'd do X, Y, and Z if that was to happen. And I'll say to my clients, we're not preparing for this to happen. We're not expecting this to happen. But it's just we're not expecting this to happen. But if it was to happen, we'd be prepared for it. We'd handle it. And when you can bring that reassurance to yourself and to your nervous system with, okay, so this is the fear. And if the fear was to actualize, how would I handle that? Okay, well, if that actually happened, this is what I'd do. Or if you're not sure, you'd get guidance from someone else to say, okay, well, I would say this, this, and this. And we bring some logic to the emotional brain. And we create some sort of either structure or this is what would happen. The nervous system goes, okay. And it can breathe. Because if that was to happen, I know what I'd do. And it's usually, not always, but it's usually not as bad as we think or feel that it is. It's just that once the mind gets going and the body gets going, the impending doom, the stress, the pressure, we cook it up, the kitchen's on fire. You know what I'm saying? So we have to sort of douse the fire and go, okay, it's just a little flame right now. It's okay. And once we know what those fears are, these are the three things. Communicating. The number one is communicating. As someone who feels safer not communicating things with other people, and you have to be mindful who you are communicating with. For me, I've got trusted people in my life that I can talk to. I also have my own coaching containers. Like, I can go into immersion, for example. We have a Telegram group. I can go in there and process in there with my clients. It's one of the most beautiful things we have. It's like, if you are feeling these feels, come to that space, talk about it. In a space where you will be witnessed, you will be seen, heard, you will be just held in that. You'll be given love and support, because that's ultimately what we need, is that. It's what like our inner child needed when we were little, like arms wrapping round. And if we don't communicate what's actually going on, no one can actually give us what we need if we don't tell people what we feel that we need. And I used to try as an independent woman to say, well, I don't need anyone else. I don't want to talk to anyone else about it. I would feel like shame for feeling the feelings that I had. I'd feel like I was failing myself. I needed to sort it out myself. And if you find yourself wanting to squirrel away because that feels safer than communicating, then it's actually a healthy thing. And an aligned action when your nervous system is going here is to communicate with someone you feel safe to communicate with, whether that is a partner, whether it is a close friend that you have, someone who's not going to react to what you have to say and share, someone who's just going to stand with self-love, with compassion, with no reaction, so that your nervous system can spill out what it needs to talk about and then you can just breathe, or you can cry and let some emotion and some tension out, and that person can just be there to hold space for that. Whether it is just holding space like in a communication, whether it is actually a physical hug, if that's possible, like hug through the screen. So communication, number one, do you find that you either argue with people, so you're pushing people away, or do you find that you withdraw, or you don't want to speak? This is totally normal if you do. And if you do, my encouragement, number one, is to communicate. How you're thinking, how you're feeling. Might not make sense. If you feel that you haven't got anyone to talk to, then you need to obviously get in self-led. That is number one. That's my monthly membership. Or if you've got the funds to do so, get yourself inside Immersion, because we have the Telegram group for you to be able to talk about it there. That's what that space is for. And if you're at a point where it's like neither of those are accessible for you at the moment, then get yourself a pen and paper and journal. Journal it out. But what I will say is the power of speaking, of releasing through sound, is more powerful than we realise. I realised this the most back when I did a Facebook Live challenge where I went live for 365 days. Because in the past in my business, I'd made commitments to go live, to talk, to do all these things. And I would get so many weeks in and then something would happen, I'd feel stressed and I'd want to run away and hide. So I did. And when I made the commitment to go live for a whole year, obviously there were amazing days, but there were also some absolutely crap days where I was just like, the last thing I want to do today is go live. You know, I've got no makeup on. I look like shit. I've been crying today. Something's happened today. I've been very stressed. The kids have been a nightmare. Whatever it was, I wouldn't want to go live. And I would find myself sometimes, and some of you that were there in those days, I would find myself sometimes at 5 to midnight on the day, finally hitting the live button, going, right, well, I'm going to go live, like I said, even though it's at 5 to midnight. And I'd think, hopefully, there won't be many people online at this time. And there would be quite a few, especially if I did it in my group, because they'd be like, hey girl, I'm like, oh my God. But the fact that I was in my group at the time, my Facebook group, I'd gone live, just talking it out. And not necessarily going into the real deep stuff on obviously my social media back then, but just talking about the feelings. And having that exchange with, you know, like-minded people was a game changer for me personally. And that's when I really understood the power of communication, especially in times of stress. Aligned communication, like talking about vulnerability, what's actually going on. It was an absolute game changer for me. It's a game changer for my clients, and it's so much more powerful than we realise. Communication is a powerful tool. So that is number one, communicate. Number two is having compassion for self and self-love for self. Do you find that when you are stressed, you take it out on yourself? As in, when you're finding things hard, you feel like your feet are stuck in treacle, you can't get the basics done, are you an absolute cowbag to yourself? Like calling yourself useless, irresponsible, disorganised, oh my gosh, I can't do it, I'm not good enough, why can't I just do the basics, what is wrong with me? Do you go down that trail of self-talk? Because I know I used to. If you have been in an abusive relationship in the past and other people have spoken down to you, like for example, if you've been in a narcissistic relationship before, and you'll have had someone else saying all of these things to you, you know, when you're in times of you're having a really hard day, you are struggling, you are stressed, you're finding life too much, rather than being given compassion, rather than having communication, rather than having someone just come and put their arms around you and say, it's okay, everything's going to be okay, you know, we can work through this together, what's the matter, talk to me, you know, we've got this. You got the whole, you know, what's wrong with you, you know, stop being stupid, you so this, you so that. And you would get either just chastised or like just spoke to like shit, basically. If you've experienced that, because I have, don't be surprised if that is your self-talk when you're stressed or when your nervous system is in a state of feeling shaky. And feeling all that and then compounding with all that self-talk shit will just make you feel even worse and will send you downhill even more. And so when you find yourself, not if, when you find yourself speaking to yourself like shit, I just want you to just take a moment and just check in with your self-talk, with your self-love, because what you really need in this time is compassion. You need kindness. You need encouragement. You need love. You don't need to push yourself. You don't need to hustle. You don't need to add more pressure to try and make yourself move. You don't need to kick up the arse. You need love. That is what you need. And you have to pour into you in these times. I know it can feel hard. Just the simple things sometimes, like making yourself some food, having a shower, getting dressed, going for a walk. Like, for example, for me, going to the gym is something that really serves me, like working out. And not from a place where I'm really thrashing myself at the gym, but like I'm just working out and moving my body, and just to develop strength and connection and, you know, just movement, moving the endorphins around the body. I've been out for a walk with the dog today. So some of the things in the past, like when we make commitments and goals where, right, I'm gonna eat really well, I'm gonna exercise, I'm gonna do all these things, you know, it's February, we're nearly into March, but some people for the new year, that's their goals. And so then when times of stress hit or pressure, then you start to eat the crap food, and then you don't stop because it's like, oh, here I am again, I fucked up again, so I may as well just carry on. You don't go to the gym, you don't go out for a walk, you don't do the commitments that you had set up, and you don't look after yourself on the basic foundation because you don't feel worthy of being looked after. It's like you're like, well, it doesn't matter, and you do matter. So self-love, compassion for self, check in with your self-talk, check in with the thoughts that you're having about yourself, and be gentle with just adjusting those things from self-loathing to self-love. It's very important. And this will start to help you shift out of this state of, obviously, feeling like, ugh. And the thing is, when you communicate, because you've communicated this, because you're working on this, those around you will also have encouragement, kind things to say, and compassion for you. Believe me, when you lead like this, it changes. Like, you will feel so much better, and your nervous system will stabilise so much quicker than you could even try to do if you were putting pressure on yourself. The thing is, when we put pressure on ourselves when the nervous system's in a state of stress, then we just sort of mask over what's happening. It's a little bit like when you've got, like say if you've got a cut on your hand and you just stick a plaster over the top, even though the cut needs like air for it to heal, even though it hurts a little bit, it needs cleaning out, we like put something over it because we need to just carry on. That's what pushing through when the nervous system's compromised does. It will always come back round. It will always come back round. And this is how you can find yourself, like I said, in cycles over and over again. Here I am again. Like, motivation's high. Oh my God, here I am again, self-sabotaging. Motivation's high. Here I am self-sabotaging again. Feeling like shit again. Here I am again, high. So people can go like really high, really low, really high, really low. And it's like, what we want is this line not to be erratic. We want this, it's going to be like this. And it's like really vibing here, in alignment here. Yes, amazing. And it's also kindness, compassion, leadership here. This is the work. And the final thing, the third thing, is leading forward. With the commitments you have, you know, just look at the commitments you've got. Have you got too much on your plate? Are you overdoing it in areas? You know, if you said you've set up this schedule for yourself and it is too much, be honest. Look at where, you know, you can take a few things off your plate if you can. Ask for help where you can or where you need it. Don't be ashamed to ask for help if you need it, and support if you need it. And ultimately look at, you know, the ways in which you can lead yourself forward, starting with the basics. Getting yourself out of bed, having a shower, having a little walk, making sure you're eating, like the very basics, drinking enough water. You know, not turning to like trying to numb out with like drinking alcohol or doing crazy shit or just like mind numb scrolling or watching shitloads of TV. just take your mind off everything. It's like, just have some time. Not saying there's anything wrong with just like watching a bit of TV just to relax. But what I'm saying is, if it's impacting life and you're trying to do it so you don't have to deal with things, I'm like, let's just look at this and let's do some of the basic steps, because ultimately you know that when you are drinking the water, when you have got out of bed, when you've had a shower, you know, when you're taking certain steps throughout your day, that you do feel better for it. And so those 3 things: communicate with people, like voice what's actually happening in the right people, having self-love and compassion for self, like your mindset, your thoughts, your feelings, they're not going to be perfect, but lean more into the self-love and kindness for self and compassion than you do into the self-loathing. And then number 3 is the very basic steps of leadership, leading forward, getting back on track, like restabilizing your nervous system. When you do this and you hold space for the feelings that do come through, and rather than trying to shove them away, you actually just holding space for them is just being with your emotions that you don't want to feel for a little while. What you'll find with the emotions that you don't want to feel is actually, by doing these things, they will move through you and you will let them go. This is how you expand your capacity. This is how you change your reality, because rather than you staying stuck in a reality that's internal here, you shift the reality by allowing, making sense of, creating new truths in these moments, and bringing reassurance to the nervous system and safety back to the body. I am safe. All is well. I think this is one of the affirmations that I've used for every single client ever in my life, amen, is all is well. You know, we do this work on calls, whether it's to do with life, you know, things that are happening in life, or whether it's to do with things in business, like, for example, visibility fears, or scared of selling, or nervous about rejection, and all of that. It's like, it's normal for this to come up. Sometimes over the seemingly silly things, so then you can feel stupid. It's not. Your safety is compromised in some way internally. You're feeling it. It's normal. You're a human. Welcome. Doesn't always feel amazing. This work isn't always sexy. But when you start to understand this, and you understand how your mind and body work, you can start to work with it rather than against it. You can start to work with yourself rather than against yourself. And it means that you can start to lead yourself more powerfully than ever before. Which, the flip side of that, you know, the result of that is you creating, you achieving, you manifesting the things that you really want to, like, create, manifest, attract, experience in your life and in your business. This is part of the process. So if you've got any questions about today's podcast, because my left foot is now numb. Let me change legs. If you've got any questions about today's podcast, any comments, then please do let me know. My hope is that today it's been helpful for whoever needed to hear it. So know that I have been in my little place of wanting to withdraw, go quiet, get defensive, retreat back and hide over the last 24 hours. And even in the last week, you know, there's been ups and downs of me feeling these things, like feeling the feels. However, I still know, like, these 3 steps, the communication, the self-love and compassion, and continuing to lead and committing to some of the commitments that I've got, serves me. And so even though I may not feel like it, it's like I know that by showing up and by doing those things, that I'll be in alignment and be leading myself, and it brings that reassurance that my nervous system is really looking for, that safety, building that capacity. And for me, I absolutely love this work, even though sometimes it feels like shit. It is the work. It's not always glam. It's not always sexy. And that's part of the process. That's life. So any questions, you can email me at hello@louiseblood.co.uk. If you want to check out Self-Led, which is my monthly membership, this is all about helping you to really, like, understand this work more deeply, to you know, get access to some of the somatic practices, to check out some of the masterclasses that I've got within that space. I do go live in there as well once a month with coaching. So Self-Led is my monthly membership. You can find the link with more information in my bio on Instagram and also on Facebook. And then Immersion is my group coaching experience for women as well. So that just has, my full programs are in that experience, and there's also 2 group Zoom monthly coaching calls that I do with my clients inside of that space. And we have the Telegram group as well, where, you know, you can come in, celebrate, process, whatever you need to do. That space is there for you 24/7. And then also I've got my one-to-one coaching. So I'll drop the link to my link tree in the show notes. But the best place to find it is either on Facebook or on Instagram. So yeah, I hope this has helped. Sending you lots of love. If you are in, like I said, if you are in a state of stress and you are feeling all over the place, then do this work, because I guarantee when you do, it will change your life. Wishing you an amazing rest of your day. And next time that I go live for this podcast, I will be in our new house. So I'm excited to show you. All right, guys, have an amazing day. I'll see you next week. Bye.